So in the last episode, I spent a lot of time talking about the tank and how I was going to fit the tank and get the lines right on that. And I was so pleased with that. And I kind of got a little bit distracted by that and set up the rear subframe template, which is on there now. I kind of got a bit above myself and I kind of forgot what I was building. The problem with this bike is I'm making it up as I go along. I was so focused on the tank that I made the rear subframe, put it on. I thought, that's brilliant. But actually it wasn't brilliant and it wasn't quite right. The way I had the rear end set up before with that plasticky rear end and this subframe set up so high would have been great if it was a Street Fighter, but it's not. It's a Scrambler. And I bang on about lines being correct and they were not correct. So in this episode, I'm going to do some more work on the bike, but I'm just going to go over my new ideas for the rear subframe and how I'm going to get that line with the tank absolutely spot on. Now, as you'll see here from this clip I'll put up on the screen from the last video, you can see I had the rear end just up too high. I think my subframe idea was pretty cool with the holes in it and just keeping everything slimline so I can see all of the rear wheel. All this is left open. It was just sitting up a bit too high. And I have to say, again, I'll take your points on board and you're totally correct. Now I thought about it, that rear plastic section I had on there, not good. It's gone. I've sent it back. Same with the front. I had the corresponding front headlight section for that plastic. It's gone back. I don't like it. It's not right for the bike. Probably right for another project, just not this one. So what I've done earlier on today is kept the subframe template that I made the other day, but I've just lowered it down a bit. I've shortened it slightly. So I've shortened it at the front and I've lowered it so that the line of that subframe is in line with the tank. So it runs kind of parallel. Before it kind of flicked up, and I say it's not a Street Fighter, so wrong bike. So I'm going to keep the subframe now. That's been lowered and I think that looks a lot better than what it did before. And I've also, in the last video, said I was going to build a custom seat, which I'm not going to do that anymore. I've actually just bought a new seat from eBay. I've bought a Ducati Scrambler seat. I'll put it up on the screen here so you can see the shape of it. And I think that's going to be absolutely perfect for this bike. It's got a narrow front end, so it will go narrow over my subframe and join onto the tank. But it does widen up a little bit at the rear, and it's not too long. So I'm going to accompany that seat with like a Scrambler loop frame at the back to give this kind of look. So if you look on this Triumph Scrambler here, I'm going to try and replicate that look. It's got the loop frame and the little mudguard hanging off the back with the rear light. That's the look I'm going to go for this Hornet Scrambler. So what I've done, if anyone watched an episode I did, I think it's episode 2, and I went down to the breaker's yard, I saw that old frame that was in the scrap pile, and I said to you, I might whip rear end off that for this. And that's what I've done. I went down there this morning and I cut the rear subframe off of that bike. Although it's got all these lugs on it, and you know they were for the previous bike, the actual shape of the loop frame, I'm hoping that when the seat turns up in a week or so's time, it's going to be ideal for that. Looking at it, it should be. My plan is, in a minute, I'm going to cut all these lugs off and just leave myself with the loop, and somehow I'm going to convert that so it fits over my new subframe, and it just comes out the back and holds the rear of the seat on. So it's probably going to be sat around there somehow. So that's a possibility. I can't fit this until the seat turns up because I don't know how far back that seat's going to be, and I just want to check the radius of that frame to make sure it's suitable. If not, we can customize it. But that's my idea, to go with that sort of rear subframe look like this Triumph here. So that's what we're going to go for, and hoping that's going to help me out to get that look. But I've set the new subframe, the template I've made, in a much better line. Let me know what you think, but I think that's a much better line with the tank. And like I say, by the time I've got that on there somehow, or something like that, that's going to look a lot better. But we won't know until the seat turns up. So once that turns up, we can plonk that on. So while I've got a bit of time that I can spend today on the bike, I'm going to just do a few jobs in it, a few jobs that I need to do just before I strip the whole thing down and lay it out on the floor. One of those jobs is to take everything off the front end. Just an update on the front end. And I will say, from like video 1 that I did, I said I'm going to make this bike up as I go along, and that's great in a sense, but it's getting to the point where I'm needing a plan really. So I need to buy parts. I need to understand what I'm doing. And I had that plastic front end before, which I was going to put on with maybe some LED lights, and I've kind of come to the conclusion that I'm just making my life hard work for no reason. And I'm just trying to customise things that probably don't need to be customised. Now, I've had a little think about the headlight, and as it is, and I'm actually decided I'm going to use the original headlight on the bike for this project, because now that rear subframe's on and I'm happy with the line, it kind of corresponds with the bracket that's already on there for that headlight. Once that's all satin black, and the ring for the headlight satin black, and I get a grid over the front like a Scrambler grid, I think that headlight is going to be absolutely perfect. It's in the perfect line. All the wiring's there, everything's there. I'm just making my life hard for myself for nothing. So I'm going to potentially use this original headlight for the Hornet. Probably not going to use the clocks. They're a little bit too standard for me. So we'll take the clocks off and change those over for something a bit more special. I'm pretty much ready, I think, to strip, in the next video, the whole bike down into its components, lay it all on the floor, start cleaning it up and painting all the bits. I can do some repairs while it's all on the floor, because I've got the fork seals that are gone. So I'm going to do a little video on how I do the fork seals. It's not going to be a how-to video because I've only done a few of them in the past, but we'll give it a go. I've got the new seals up here, all ready to go. So yeah, let's start stripping this front end apart and see what we're left with. Right, start getting this front end apart. Let's take these horrible mirrors off. If anybody wants a set of standard Hornet mirrors that they want to restore, you're more than welcome to them. Don't need them. Not going to go back on. Tell you what, best idea is actually take that tank off. Let's get that out of the way. Should have been easier to get a socket on there, but never mind. Get the switch gears off, the brake levers off. So we need a little 8mm spanner. Just make sure everything loosens up first, because it is an old bike. This bike, I mean, since I started taking it apart, not had any trouble with the nuts and bolts on it. Considering it's like 20 years old, it's not bad whatsoever. I should get away with just loosening those off. All these switch gears, everything I'm taking off is going to go straight back on, because see, it's all standard for the bike, so no need to change it. Alright, let's get these grips off. They're bloody tight in there. Little trick I was taught years ago. Just lift that grip up a little bit, stick the tube of the oil can in there, squirt some oil in there, leave it for a minute, and just want to crack it so it breaks any glue off or anything that I was put on there. But yeah, there we go. Lovely. Saves a lot of hassle. Get that right off. Nice one. That's going in the bin. Don't need that. Right, just going to loosen that last switch gear off and then undo the bars, and I'll take everything away. And then take everything away. And that's the bars off. Switch gears off, and then we'll crack on getting the headlight off, the mudguard, clocks, put those aside, and yeah, I think that's the front end ready to drop out in the next video to do the fork seals. Oh, that's fused on there, that is. I need to give that a little tap. That's that side. I'm going to have to undo that switch gear a bit more. Sometimes on these bars, there's a little hole in the bottom of the bar which locates the throttle side, stop it spinning, and that's why I can't slide it off. That's it. Handlebars off, switch gears off, everything just there, so I know where it is. Let's get on with the clocks and headlight, front mudguard. I've just got to take this top yoke off just to lift it up to release the bracket for the headlight, because it's on both yokes, but it's got to come off anyway, because in the next video all the front end's coming off. So see if we can get this big nut undone on the top. It's going to be tight. Oh, it's not too bad. All right, that's them released. I just should be able to just give that a tap up now, and that'll all come off. There's the washer. There we go, it's just the front yoke. I'm going to put that aside. It's got the key and everything in there for when we rebuild it. Obviously all these parts are going to be painted and sprayed as we go along. And then that's all undone. Now this was me saying earlier, put the screws somewhere safe because I'll lose them. I haven't put the screws back in the left hand side, the choke side, and I've lost the screws already, so I have to hunt around the floor. So that's it really. That's about as much as I can get done on the bike before the big strip down. I'm happy that I've got all that front end taken apart. I've got all the bits over there in the box that I'm going to keep and potentially refurbish. There's bits to do on the bike. I've got things like the rear sets here. I'm not having the rear pegs on, so I want to cut those off and round them off. But I'll do all that as I start taking it apart and laying everything out on the floor. So I hope you've enjoyed this video and the previous 4 or 5 that I've made up till now. Don't forget to hit that thumbs up and subscribe to my channel, because I'm going to do lots of videos over the winter of this bike, and it'd be nice to take you along for the journey to see it all the way through to the end. And then obviously once this is done, there'll be much more videos coming up over next summer when I've got another project coming in here, and you'll be able to follow me on those. So yeah, thanks for watching. Really do appreciate you viewing the video, because it does help me build my little channel, and yeah, it means a lot to me. So thank you, and we'll see you in the next one.